John Winthrop was a Puritan living in Massachusetts in the 17th century. In a 1645 speech, he outlined the Puritan view of freedom, quote-unquote, which differs from what many people might think of when they hear that word. He endorsed what he called, quote, moral liberty, which is the freedom to do only what is good. This makes a lot of sense considering the origins of Puritanism. This sect was founded out of the idea that the Church of England was still too corrupted by the influence of the Catholic Church. The Puritans wanted the religious freedom to act in the way they believed was right and just, and not to be forced to follow an institution they believed was leading people astray and towards immorality. He is not advocating for what he called natural liberty, quote-unquote, which is the freedom to do whatever one wants. According to Winthrop, natural liberty is dangerous because it brings men down to the level of beasts, with no morality, as men would be able to do evil as well as good. This kind of freedom was exceedingly dangerous because it was incompatible with justice and authority. To a certain extent, Winthrop's reasoning makes sense. If society simply allowed people to do whatever they wanted, with no rules, regulations, or social conditioning, there would be chaos, and conditions would worsen. However, Winthrop's logic has been invoked many times in the United States by religious groups claiming that society was being corrupted because moral standards were loosening. My own church endorsed a version of Winthrop's logic, claiming that freedom from sin, quote-unquote, was more important than, quote, freedom to sin. The issue is that a lot of the time, these religious groups trying to impose their moral standards on the rest of society are trying to suppress things that are not inherently harmful to society. In his speech, Winthrop uses an analogy, comparing the moral liberty Puritans have to the liberty wives have to submit to their husband's authority, as is their honorable duty in life. Women have a choice to do the moral thing and obey their husband's authority, but don't have a choice not to obey. This belief is based on Bible passages such as Ephesians 5, verse 22. Quote, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. However, some women may not want to be submissive towards their husbands, and may not even want to get married in the first place. Making such a choice would not be allowed in Puritan society, however, even though allowing the freedom to do so would not necessarily harm society and could even improve it for some of its denizens. In the end, John Winthrop's Puritan idea of quote-unquote moral liberty is shamefully arrogant and intolerant. It assumes complete moral supremacy on his part and makes deviant behaviors and identities that do not produce harm illegal. If you only have the freedom to act one type of way, it is not really freedom, as shown in the case of Anne Hutchinson, for example. The Puritans wanted religious freedom for themselves, but dissenters like Hutchinson and her followers were banished from Massachusetts for differing religious views.